Springfield Clinic Advantage, an employer health plan designed locally with a real understanding of the healthcare needs of the patients in our community. A plan that guarantees you'll never be out of network with your Springfield Clinic doctors again. Your doctors, your health plan, your advantage. Visit springfieldclinic.com/advantage.
Start the new year off with a bang at Hendrick's Home Furnishings going on now. Take up to 30% off tag sale prices on all in-stock Lazy Boy furniture. That's right, up to 30% off of Hendrick's already discounted sale prices, not from MSRP or list prices like the other stores. In stock and ready for delivery only at Central Illinois' go-to store for Lazy Boy deals. Family-owned Hendrick's Home Furnishings, delivering fine furniture since 1949 on Route 4 in Verdon.
Everywhere you are with TuneIn Radio, the WMAY app, or at WMAY.com. 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk.
Springfield's dependable 5-day forecast on WMAY. Today, mostly sunny with a high near 50, low around 36. Tomorrow, occasional drizzle in the morning, then partly sunny with a high near 52. Light rain tomorrow night, low around 35. Thursday, rain likely in the morning, turning to light snow. Breezy in the afternoon, low Thursday night, around 26. Friday, mostly cloudy with a high near 33. And Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 39. I'm Don Howard, 92.7 WMAY.
Well, Mickey and I are retiring and closing the store, and these are the final days. The remaining inventory is priced up to as low as 17 cents on the dollar. Everything's got to go. Many people have asked where they should go for their service needs. Well, most of the remaining jewelry stores in Springfield have goldsmith shops and are capable of cleaning and checking your fine jewelry. It's been a great run, and we thank you so much. We are locking the doors on Saturday the 14th at 3 o'clock.
Less hassle, more travel. We've got connections. Springfield to Chicago O'Hare to anywhere you need to travel on United Airlines. From your next business trip to your next family vacation, United Airlines can get you there from the Abraham Lincoln Capitol Airport. Security lines are short, parking is always free, and customer service is a top priority. Book your next United Airlines flight from SPI at united.com.
SPI, take the easy way out.
Springfield has so many must-see destinations when you come to visit, such as the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum, Bicentennial Plaza, and don't forget 7th Street Cidery. Yes, 7th Street Cidery, Central Illinois' first cidery, is quickly becoming a destination for their great selection of locally sourced ciders, meads, and perries in a warm, rustic atmosphere. Located at 503 South 7th Street next to Obed and Isaac's and across from Lincoln's home, near great shopping and history in the heart of downtown Springfield. 7th Street Cidery.
If you love barbecue and tasty butts drive you nuts, wiggle on over to Lil Willie's Smokehouse. Fresh smoked barbecue that you're gonna love. What's your pleasure? Brisket, pork, chicken? Lil Willie's got it. And all of the classic sides, like homemade mac and cheese and cornbread. Follow your nose to the smoke at Lil Willie's Smokehouse. Ask about Willie's Rewards, where you get points for eating barbecue. Lil Willie's Smokehouse at the corner of South Grand and MacArthur. Wiggle Central.
For more information, visit littlewilliesbbq.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
92.7 WMAY.
Springfield's News and Talk.
Well, just hours before inauguration yesterday, Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a measure that gives constitutional officers pay raises, as well as pay raises for state lawmakers and executive agency directors. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk, and you can call in live and local at 217-629-7970. Do you think that they deserve a pay raise? Again, you can call in 217-629-7970. You can also email bishoponair@gmail.com or find me on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, and you can message us that way as well. But hours before being sworn in and taking the oath of office, you've got constitutional officers set to get pay raises. How much are they going to get? Well, after the legislature passed a bill that spends more than $1.7 billion on a whole host of things. It's a supplemental appropriation, a budget implementation bill. They call it a BIMP around the Capitol. It spends about $850 million for the state's budget stabilization fund. Comptroller Susana Mendoza said that it's responsible and bracing for inflationary pressures. Having emergency funds, she says, means that Illinois leaders are being accountable fiscal stewards for taxpayers. But at the same time, it also spends $460 million for helping hospitals deal with the cost of nursing, plus $400 million for the Large Business Attraction Fund. $400 million in that fund. Some people criticizing that as a slush fund for Governor J.B. Pritzker to use for pet projects. So we'll likely hear a lot more about that particular fund, but also $72 million for the Disaster Recovery Fund and a whole host of other spending of taxpayer resources. But the bill does have tucked in there pay raises for lawmakers. You're talking $12,000 pay increase, getting them up to $85,000 from where they were. But it's not just lawmakers going from $72,900 as their base pay to $85,000 as their base pay. You've got the salaries for the governor going from $181,000 to $205,000. The lieutenant governor from $140,000 to $161,000. The secretary of state going from $161,000 to $183,000. The attorney general $161,000 to $183,000, and the comptroller and treasurer are each going to get a pay raise of $140,000 to $161,000 annually. So those are the pay raises spelled out in the measure that the governor signed just before going to inauguration, ensuring that lawmakers, before they take their oath of office tomorrow, get those pay raises for the new General Assembly. Do you think they deserve it? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
You know, Greg, I don't know much about history, having been alive for about the last 5,000 years or so. At least that's what it seems like. But these guys were hired to do a part-time job, and they aren't doing that, let alone a full-time job.
Yep.
So I say we reduce their pay until they figure out what it is they need to be doing and get on track. They were all farmers originally when this state was founded, and this was part-time, not full-time work.
Now, state lawmakers considered part-time work. A lot of state lawmakers will push back and say they work full-time in their job. But also the argument was that, hey, you want to attract quality people. You don't want just millionaires there. You don't want just people who are bought out by special interests there. You want to attract quality people who can be part of the citizenry legislature. But that's the legislature. That's not the governor, the attorney general, the comptroller. They're all getting pay raises as well. And those are full-time jobs, but I mean, you're looking at $160,000 a year for the lieutenant governor position in Illinois. That's a pretty good salary.
It's a chunk of change, and the one that I don't have problems with, and it's not because political leanings or anything else. One I don't have problems with is the governor, only from the sense that the amount of people that the governor is supposedly responsible for and in charge of, if you match that up to any CEO in any business of that size,
it's a big deal.
You know, it makes a huge difference. But
it's a big deal.
Still, I don't believe any of them need a pay raise. I think they're all overpaid. And I don't believe for a minute that any of them, none of them in the legislature are working full time.
Well, as somebody who covers the legislature, it feels like a full-time deal when they're in these final days of session, like in lame duck session, because let me tell you, I've seen my wife maybe an hour a day. I come home and I'm like, I'm so sorry I'm working so late. She understands because it's little spurts, right? It's like, here we are at the tail end of session. I'm going to be busy for like 5 or 6 days, and it's going to be long hours. But at the beginning of session, it's, you know, they come in, they gavel in. It's not just the pay they get, their base salary. They also get per diem. They also get travel. They also get lodging costs if they have to travel to Springfield and stay here. So there's even added costs onto all of that, and sometimes they get per diem simply by coming in on a Tuesday night, gaveling in, gaveling out, and then they'll work Wednesday. They get that per diem for Tuesday as well as Wednesday. So that's even extra added cost on you, the taxpayer, footing the bill for that. Your thoughts? Do they deserve a raise? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Man, this sounds like a great gig if you can get one of those jobs, Greg. Like, you're making this sound like everybody should be applying for this with those kind of benefits. That's pretty impressive.
Everybody can. I mean, there's certain requirements for you to try to become a state lawmaker, but listen, there are elections every 2 years for state representatives, unless, of course, a state representative decides to retire before the end of their term, and then the local party bosses get to pick whoever's the replacement.
I mean, we're all taking a pay cut when they raise taxes to pay for their new raises. So it's kind of a pretty terrible deal for us. But the fact that Illinois has so many people that need leadership but are unqualified to choose that leadership has put us in that position. And they are holding us hostage at this point, because the way Illinois is set up with Chicago and all this other stuff, you have two different types of, the demographics in Illinois are it's like a 50-50 split, in my opinion. And we're being held hostage. And all those people that are unqualified to pick leadership are the ones that continue to swing elections to the Democrats in Illinois. Those of us that don't need leadership and don't want leadership because we can take care of ourselves on a daily basis, we continue to lose elections. So until that flips in Illinois, we're stuck with it. And it's just going to be that way.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, and a lot of it, gerrymandered districts, some questions about the mail-in voting policies that are in place. All of these things kind of work together in a cauldron of sorts to give us the landscape that we have now. And you talk about anytime they raise taxes in Illinois, essentially taxpayers are taking a pay cut because they pay higher taxes. Well, if you move to another state, I had a colleague who moved from Illinois to a different state, and HR notified him instantly saying, you got a pay bump, not from the company, but you got a pay bump because the taxes were lower where they moved. So he was able to keep more of his paycheck. So interesting to see all that. All right, stay tuned. We got to talk about, of course, the governor. He signed that bill to give pay raises to lawmakers, but the governor also was inaugurated yesterday for a second term. We'll hear some of his priorities laid out, but also some other statewide constitutional officers taking the oath of office just in time for that pay raise. So stay tuned. We'll get to that here with Springfield's Morning News on WMAY. All right, let's take a look at Springfield's dependable 5-day forecast, where today got a very mild condition with a high around 50. And then the low down to around 37 with sunny skies early and patchy fog overnight. And then for Wednesday, patchy drizzle with a high of 53, the low of 35 with rain likely Wednesday night. Thursday, rain with a high of around 33 by the evening hours, the low down to around 26. And then Friday, partly sunny with a high of 33. Saturday, mostly sunny with a high of 38. Right now, it's about 36 degrees on WMAY at 720 from Culver's West on Wabash.
It's time to apply at Culver's West on Wabash. We're hiring all positions, and did we mention free food? Only at Culver's West on Wabash.
The Ramsey Show. You're also supposed to enjoy money. We're talking to the frugal who need to be more generous and enjoy their money. Now, some of you that overspend out there, you spend like you're in Congress, you don't have any issue with this enjoying money thing. You enjoy other people's money, called debt. You enjoy everything. Enjoying money without overdoing it is a sign of maturity. Yeah. And it's not age maturity, it's emotional maturity.
The Ramsey Show, weeknights at 10. Sponsored by INB. Bank Easy. Bank INB.
There are 3 words I always hear when someone from our staff is on the phone. We got it. Hi, it's Laurie from Rex Battery, and whenever somebody calls us and asks if we have a certain type of battery, the answer is always, we got it. Even in those very rare instances we don't, we know how to get it. And if we don't know how to get it, we'll build it. That's how committed we are to making sure you have the power you need. From model cars to real cars, from toys to tractors, dog collars to doorbells, riding mowers to remote keys. If it takes a battery, we have it at Rex Battery. Over 75,000 batteries in stock right now. So if you're wondering if we've got a battery, yep, we've got it. They're fresh, fully charged, and ready to go. keeping Central Illinois fully powered for over 60 years. Rex Battery, Clear Lake, west of Dirksen.
X with a double X battery. Generations of power.
What's the best thing to do with your money during uncertain times? Financial experts agree products like certificates of deposit and money market accounts can be a safe haven from a bumpy economy. At Warren Boynton State Bank, we've been helping people find ways for their money to make money for 145 years. Certificates of deposit, or CDs, give you a guaranteed return on your money. Money market accounts are a way to let your money earn higher interest with the flexibility of a checking account. These are just two options we have at Warren Boynton, each designed to give your money security, and they just might help you sleep better at night. At Warren Boynton, you can say we've seen a few things over the years. A lot has happened since we opened our doors in 1877, but no matter what was going on in the rest of the world, we've stood by folks in Central Illinois. A little extra confidence during challenging economic times. Warren Boynton State Bank, WBSB.net, member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Warren Boynton, your bank.
Since 1958, Springfield Overhead Doors by Heart has been serving Central Illinois with the highest quality, most dependable garage doors and service. It's because of your loyalty that we continue to grow year after year. Right now, we're looking for experienced technicians and we offer industry-leading pay and benefits. If you've got the experience and are interested in joining our local, trusted, and family-owned business, get in touch with us. Springfield Overhead Doors by Heart, an equal opportunity employer.
This is Jim over at CBD Botanicals. We're
Well, we've been talking about whether lawmakers and state constitutional officers like the governor and attorney general should get a pay raise. Got an email here. No raises for any of these elected politicians of Illinois. And I will count the exclamation points here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's like 10 exclamation points there, so you can tell they're really serious. They don't think that these lawmakers or the constitutional officers or any elected officials in Illinois should get a pay raise. But that's what they're getting. The governor signed that bill, that $1.7+ billion spending package that included in it pay raises for lawmakers, constitutional officers like governor and attorney general and treasurer, plus you've got pay raises for executive agency staff, like, for instance, those who run the Department of Employment Security, who during the COVID pandemic still can't tell us how much fraud there's been. Those who run the Department of Children and Family Services, who've been found contempt of court for how they place children in state custody. Those who run the Department of Human Services, who have been found in contempt of court as well for how they delay in placing detainees unfit for trial. So you got these executive agency directors also set to get pay raises. All right, but yesterday the governor and other constitutional officers, they were part of inauguration, and the governor laid out some of his priorities. We'll hear some of that, but of course, with the inauguration ceremonies at the Bank of Springfield Center, it was a big affair. A lot of happenings going on. Beautiful stage setting with the governor there with his family, set to take the oath of office, and here's how that played out. And in particular, the governor laying out some of his policy priorities moving into the future. Here's the governor laying those things out from yesterday at the Bank of Springfield Center.
State your name.
I, J.B. Pritzker.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
And the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties.
And I will faithfully discharge the duties.
Of the office of Governor.
Of the office of Governor.
According to the best of my ability.
According to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Governor.
Thank you very much. And over the last year, I drove all across the state, and I couldn't help but notice that people had put up some signs in their yards that said, "Fire Pritzker." I was concerned about this until my kids pointed out that when people in their generation think something is really cool, they say, "That's fire." So I want to take this moment to thank everyone who put up those very encouraging signs. Since I took office, we've increased by more than 50%. Now let's focus on making tuition free for every working class family in Illinois. Focusing on the future of working families and making everyday life easier and more affordable for people is what I believe government ought to be all about. We've done a lot on this in recent years. Balancing the budget, paying off debt, and eliminating interest on overdue bills has made it possible for us to provide tax relief. Let's work toward more permanent tax relief. Why do we allow anyone to easily purchase a rapid-fire, high-capacity weapon that can kill dozens of unarmed people in under a minute? When I campaigned for re-election and promised to pass an assault weapons ban, 8 states already had one. Very soon, Illinois must be the 9th. And we ought to have a real accounting of the assault weapons currently in circulation. Let's get it done, and then the federal government should follow our lead.
So that was Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday laying out some of his policy priorities in his inauguration speech. It wasn't just the governor who was inaugurated yesterday. You also had other statewide constitutional officers that were inaugurated yesterday, including the Illinois Treasurer, Michael Frericks, and the Illinois Attorney General, Kwame Raoul. Plus, you had the Comptroller, Susana Mendoza. She thanked both sides of the political spectrum for support, as she was the largest vote getter in the state.
Leader McCombie and Leader Curran and the 103rd General Assembly as we continue moving our state forward. because improving our state should be a bipartisan affair.
But you also had Alexi Giannoulias. He was elected the new Secretary of State, and he talked about Jesse White.
My wife and my 3 little girls to be the first person in 24 years to be able to say thank you to the people of Illinois for making me the new Secretary of State of the great state of Illinois.
And in talking about the first time in 23 years recognizing the work that White did.
As soon as I leave here, I will sign new executive orders ensuring ethics and integrity in the Secretary of State's office, transparency, good government, and using technology and innovation to eliminate the time tax that too many of you are paying every day just to access simple government services will be my administration's focus.
So the inauguration event at the Bank of Springfield Center, of course, they had a ball afterwards, and some of the happenings that are shared on social media about the ball, and this is from a fellow reporter at the State House who went there and saw the glitz and glamour, and interesting to kind of see it broken down here with the imagery that was shared of people wearing fashionable dresses and neat little sets and designs, and even House Minority Leader Jim Durkin was there wearing a tux and dancing and having a good time. But also you had Bruno Mars show up, and Bruno Mars performing after flying in privately to Springfield to perform at the governor's inauguration ball, including you had Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot in town as well. So they had a good time at the ball at Governor J.B. Pritzker's inauguration party. So there you go. That was happening in Springfield last night as we get ready to have more action at the Illinois State House on the final day of lame duck session, where they're going to take up a proposed gun ban and so much more still left to tackle. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. And now let's head over to the newsroom at 7:33 and get a check of headlines.
92.7 WMAY.
Here are the 3 big things you need to know.
I'm Don Howard. Our top story. Thousands of protesters in Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo, Brazil, demanded no amnesty Monday following riots by those who wanted to reinstall former President Jair Bolsonaro. Justice Minister Flavio Dino vowed to prosecute those who acted behind the scenes to summon supporters to the Capitol on social media and finance their transport for crimes including staging a coup and violent abolition of the democratic rule of law. He also said authorities would investigate allegations local security personnel allowed the destruction to proceed unabated. Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed a budget implementation bill that includes hefty pay hikes for constitutional officers and state agency directors, as well as for members of the General Assembly to be sworn in Wednesday. The measure passed during the legislature's lame duck session, and Pritzker signed it Monday morning, just hours before he and other statewide officials took their oaths of office. The measure had to be signed before Monday's inauguration because state law prohibits making changes to elected officials' salaries during their term in office. Stetson Bennett threw 2 touchdown passes and ran for 2 scores in the first half as Georgia defeated TCU 65-7 to become the first repeat champs since Alabama won 2 in a row a decade ago. The game was close through the first 20 minutes of play before Georgia scored 55 unanswered points. TCU suffered the most lopsided loss in a national title game dating to the start of the BCS era in 1998. It will be at least another 15 months before former Illinois House Speaker Mike Madigan stands trial on federal corruption charges. A federal judge has set the trial date for April 1st, 2024. That will be more than 2 years after Madigan was indicted on charges in that long-running racketeering investigation. The trial of Madigan, who is accused of trading his official duties for personal and political gain, is expected to last 6 or 7 weeks. Governor J.B. Pritzker was sworn in yesterday to a second term, laying out an ambitious agenda with few details. During his address, heard live on WMAY, Pritzker called for universal preschool in Illinois and said college should be tuition-free for working families. Details on what these efforts might cost will wait until the governor delivers his budget speech next month. Other statewide constitutional officers sworn in Monday in Springfield include Alexi Giannoulias, the first new Secretary of State in 24 years after Jesse White did not seek re-election last year. Just weeks after stepping down as the Republican leader in the Illinois House, Jim Durkin is leaving the state legislature entirely. Durkin says he will not take the oath of office for the new term to which he was elected in November, saying it's time to turn the business of legislating over to the next generation. The group of very conservative House members that calls itself the Freedom Caucus made it clear they won't miss Durkin, saying Durkin offered voters a Democrat-light agenda that the group calls a colossal failure. Your dependable 5-day forecast is next on WMAY.
News sponsored by 7th Street Cidery, Central Illinois' first cidery. Now open next door to Obed and Isaac's in downtown Springfield. Springfield has so many must-see destinations when you come to visit, such as the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum, Bicentennial.
X with a double X. Battery. Generations of power.
Hi, it's Ed Lex with Edward Jones. Listen to the Business Spotlight with Edward Jones this afternoon at 5:40 on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk.
Everywhere you are, everywhere you live, with TuneIn Radio, the WMAY app, or listen at home with your Amazon smart speaker. 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk.
Springfield's dependable 5-day forecast on WMAY. Today, mostly sunny with a high near 50, low around 36. Tomorrow, occasional drizzle in the morning, then partly sunny with a high near 52. Light rain tomorrow night, low around 35. Thursday, rain likely in the morning, turning to light snow. Breezy in the afternoon, low Thursday night, around 26. Friday, mostly cloudy with a high near 33. And Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 39. I'm Don Howard, 92.7 WMAY.
Nobody wants to think about their furnace going out this time of year, but if it does happen, you want service quickly and affordably, which is why a service agreement with MB Heating and Cooling is such a good idea. For one thing, regular furnace maintenance means it's much less likely that your furnace is going to have problems. Your equipment will last longer, your utility bills could be lower, and it protects your investment in your HVAC system. But with a service agreement from MB Heating and Cooling, there's extra protection. For example, the basic silver plan gives you 2 performance tune-ups a year. There is 24-hour priority service should you need it. You get energy-saving cleanings, and if you do have to have that service, again, less likely with the regular maintenance, but when it does happen, you get a 20% discount on your service invoice. You get all this for just $24.95 per month. Peace of mind at a reasonable price. To sign up for an MB service agreement, visit mb-heating.com or call 217-544-HEAT, 544-4328.
BLH Computers has locations in Springfield, Taylorville, and Jacksonville. We are into a new year, and you finished last year off by getting some new stuff. So now the question becomes, what do you do with that old stuff? Did you know that the place where you can get those new electronics is actually the same place that you can drop off those old electronics when you're not going to be using them anymore? Yep, I am talking about BLH Computers. Recycle those old computers, whether they are desktops, whether they're laptops. You can even recycle the printers, the monitors, the keyboard, the mice, all those other accessories. All of it can be dropped off and will be safely recycled by the E-Steward certified recycler right here in Central Illinois, which, if you did not know, is what makes BLH Computers one of the largest electronics recycler in our region. So you can say goodbye to the old and you can start enjoying the new. Recycle those old electronics over at BLH Computers. BLH Computers, with locations in Springfield, Jacksonville, and Taylorville. Like and follow them on Facebook. You can learn more online, see what you can recycle, see what you can't recycle at blhcomputers.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
92.7 WMAY.
Springfield's news and talk.
We've talked a lot about guns. That's because it's a pretty substantial issue. Second Amendment's right there next to the First Amendment, right to free speech, free press, free assembly, free religion. And the Second Amendment backs all of that up with a well-regulated militia necessary for the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That was brought up on the floor of the Senate last night, and we aired a little bit of the debate, but I wanted to go further into what State Senator Neil Anderson had to say and the back and forth he had with Senate President Don Harmon when they discussed the Senate amendments to gun control legislation that passed and now is advanced over to the Illinois House. The Illinois House is expected to take that up today on the final day of legislative session for this General Assembly, and it looks like they've all coalesced around the idea of banning the future sale of around 100 different semi-automatic guns, banning the future sale of magazines for long guns of no more than 10 rounds and handguns no more than 15 rounds, and a whole host of other provisions in that law that includes a registry of firearms that legal gun owners have to register with state police, I believe, by January 1st, 2024. Grandfathering in those who have the magazines, and penalties include a $1,000 fine and a petty offense for each time you're caught with a magazine that's outside the bounds of the law, but a Class 2 felony if you don't register your firearms with state police. So looking at this heading into the Illinois House, what's some of the debate that they had on the Senate floor last night? Typically, when you have these controversial issues, the debate can go on for a good hour and a half, if not more, but last night on the Senate floor, it only went on for about 35 minutes, and they put a timer on. And some people complained about how this is such a substantive issue. Here we are at the tail end of session, again limiting debates to a small time frame instead of having a larger debate. That frustrated a lot of people on the Senate floor, especially those Republicans. But I wanted to air some of the back and forth between the Senate President Don Harmon and Republican State Senator Neil Anderson from the Moline area. And the back and forth dealt with a lot about the language of the Second Amendment and what exactly it means and how the courts are interpreting that. So here's a good 5 minutes of some of the highlights of that debate between Harmon and Anderson.
Supreme Court's jurisprudence on firearms is a bit muddled. They seem to have completely written out a well-regulated militia from their interpretation of the Second Amendment. Second, as we are all too acutely aware now, the Supreme Court jurisprudence can turn on a dime. So I wouldn't necessarily believe that the mess that is Supreme Court jurisprudence on Second Amendment issues will always be the same. And finally, I can say with confidence, we are not including in our definition of assault weapon any weapons that existed in 1791.
You said in your opening, and the governor said it the other day, you used the term weapons of war. Could you define weapon of war for me?
I'm laughing about our conversation before the debate where we discussed no gotcha questions. This one certainly feels like or smells like one of those sorts of questions. Certainly weapons that the military uses would be weapons of war.
So the hypocrisy of the statement weapons of war, number one, the reason for the Second Amendment is for citizens to have weapons of war. That was the intent of the Second Amendment. Furthermore, the hypocrisy in this legislation is that this bill does not ban weapons of war, but rather keeps them legal to own. And here, I'll go further. Despite what you've heard, the AR-15 has never been used in the theater of war by the United States military. But what has, and what is specifically still legal under this bill, is the M1 Garand. That is still, you don't have to register, it's not considered an assault rifle, and a weapon that is still in use today by the U.S. military, and that is the 1911 pistol. The hypocrisy that we are trying to ban so-called weapons of war, but yet the weapons of war that you speak of in here are actually not weapons of war, but the ones that are actual weapons of war are completely okay to have. Back to the intent of the Second Amendment. Back then, our founders, when they wrote this, they did not return from a hunting trip. They returned from dispatching and defeating a tyrannical government. That's why they wrote the Second Amendment. And to your point, Mr. President, about the courts leaving out well-regulated militia, if you go to Heller versus D.C., it breaks down what the Second Amendment means. A well-regulated militia refers to, in D.C. versus Heller, a polity. And polity is defined as any group, could be government or even community, is defined as militia. There's a comma after well-regulated militia, which means it's separating a thought. Security of a free state. Of course, we need firearms to protect a free state. And furthermore, the right of the people shall not be infringed. That's also laid out in Heller versus D.C. 4 hours ago today, a court just struck down a New Jersey gun law because it was unconstitutional. We are going to get an immediate stay on this, and this will be deemed unconstitutional, just like the last lame duck session and the Security Act that was just deemed unconstitutional.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, we can diagram that sentence if you want, but all of it should matter. The Supreme Court has clearly ignored a major component. The right of the people to keep and bear arms is intended to produce a secure state. We do not have a secure state. Too many people are dying from gun violence. A prior speaker mentioned the M1, which is not included, standard issue for World War II, has an 8-round clip. It's not what we're trying to get at. The 1911 is named the 1911 because it was manufactured in 1911. It takes 7 rounds. Again, it's not the sort of weapon we're talking about. The weapons on this list are designed to do one thing and one thing only: kill people in a horribly brutal and vicious way. This will not solve the problem, but this is absolutely a step in the right direction. I appreciate all of your support as we have negotiated what I believe is a much better bill than it started. I look forward to working with our partners in the House to pass this tomorrow and to put it on the governor's desk. We'll see you in court.
So again, that's Senate President Don Harmon last night on the Senate floor just before this measure passed. The Illinois Senate now goes to the Illinois House. It's expected to pass there. The governor could sign it by the end of the week, and that would be effective immediately. And I imagine that you have gun groups that are going to be suing immediately, and a court can possibly put a stay on this from being implemented until it's dealt with by the courts. So we'll see what ultimately happens here. It's going to be high-flying action. We'll be covering it all in detail with your phone calls at 217-629-7970. We'll get your reaction next here with WMAY. It's now 7:50. Got to take a quick break, but let's take a look at Springfield's dependable 5-day forecast, where today you've got a high of around 50 degrees. It's actually going to be pretty decent with the sunny sky out there, and then some clouds coming through tonight with a low down to around 30 some odd degrees. Check that temperature, 37 tonight. And then Wednesday, Wednesday, the high of around 53. But then Thursday, rain with a high of around 33 in the afternoon hours. Friday, partly sunny, the high of only 33. And Saturday, mostly sunny, the high of 38. Right now, it's 7:51 from Culver's West on Wabash. Your phone call's next.
It's time to apply at Culver's West on Wabash. We're hiring all positions, and did we mention free food? Only at Culver's West on Wabash.
Rex with a double X battery. Generations of power.
Here's what we believe at Rex Battery. You should be able to find the right battery when you need it. Our company started when my dad needed a battery for his car, and he built it himself. Today, more than 50 years later, we are still making sure you can find the right battery you need. And that includes the common batteries people use every day to the hard-to-find batteries used in big farm equipment. While online outlets are struggling with supply chain issues, we have shelves full of batteries. The best part is we're right here in town and ready to help today. Hearing aids, power tools, and the car in your garage. If it takes a battery, you can find the battery at Rex Battery, Clear Lake, just west of Dirksen.
Rex with a double X battery. Generations of power.
What's the best thing to do with your money during uncertain times? Financial experts agree products like certificates of deposit and money market accounts can be a safe haven from a bumpy economy. At Warren Boynton State Bank, we've been helping people find ways for their money to make money for 145 years. Certificates of deposit, or CDs, give you a guaranteed return on your money. Money market accounts are a way to let your money earn higher interest with the flexibility of a checking account. These are just two options we have at Warren Boynton, each designed to give your money security, and they just might help you sleep better at night. At Warren Boynton, you can say we've seen a few things over the years. A lot has happened since we opened our doors in 1877, but no matter what was going on in the rest of the world, we've stood by folks in Central Illinois. A little extra confidence during challenging economic times. Warren Boynton State Bank, WBSB.net, member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Warren Boynton, your bank.
John, the price of groceries is enough to send somebody into a panic mode these days.
Yeah, especially when the refrigerator goes kaput.
Even more so. We got a call from a customer who had that problem with a freezer load of those expensive groceries.
And that'll keep you awake at night just thinking about it.
Right. So, because Dick Van Dyke stocks the 100 most used parts, we were able to send a factory-trained tech out to her place to fix the problem before she lost any of that food.
And he wasn't some subcontractor either.
Trained right here locally by the team of Dick Van Dyke.
You know, one way to fight inflation?
Yep.
Keep from having to buy expensive stuff twice.
Yes, you got that right.
This is Dennis Regan, chairman of Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. When you buy from us, you get the whole store, which means you have the comfort of knowing that if anything goes wrong, we'll make it right. Wow!
Dick Van Dyke Appliance World. When you buy from us, you get the whole store.
Anxiety. There's plenty of it to go around for just about everyone these days, but the question is, how are you dealing with it? Anxiety can make things difficult. If you find yourself reaching for drugs or alcohol as the solution, chances are your anxiety has gotten out of control. It's time to pick up the phone and call Gateway Foundation. You'll talk with someone who holds the strictest confidentiality so that you can open up and learn about treatment options. Our team of professional counselors, therapists, psychiatrists, and physicians have a long history of helping people like you get back on track. During the healing process, you'll find that there is nothing to be ashamed of. Calling Gateway Foundation is that important first step towards getting away from the self-medication of alcohol and other substances and on the road towards safe, rewarding, and sustainable recovery. Call Gateway Foundation at 877-505-HOPE for a free, private, confidential screening. Gateway Foundation, addiction medicine saving lives.
Why waste another night on a mattress that's not comfortable or supportive? This is Caleb Kitzman with Verlo Mattress. Our mattresses aren't dropped off by the truckload like most mattress stores. At Verlo, we handcraft every mattress in our local factory. That means we custom fit a mattress for you, not the other way around. Stop in this month and pair any of our mattresses with an adjustable base and get up to $200 off. Verlo Mattress. We're not just building a better mattress, we're building a better night's sleep for less.
Save up to $600 during Verlo's clearance sale.
Right now, during the Verlo mattress clearance sale, you can save even more with Verlo's already low consumer direct prices. Oh, you'll find phenomenal savings on floor models and discontinued mattresses. And all our mattresses are made locally, just for you, and are backed by our lifetime comfort guarantee. Oh, but you'd better hurry. The sale ends soon. Wake up, sleep better, and save at Verlo.
Springfield's Morning News with Greg Bishop. Listen on demand at WMAY.com. 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk.
All right, we're taking your calls in reaction to the Illinois Senate passing a measure to require a gun registry for those who have certain semi-automatic guns, and also prohibiting the future sale of those guns and the future sale of magazines for long rifles over 10 rounds in a mag, or for handguns over 15 rounds in a mag. We would have had that call. 217-629-7970. That's the phone number here on WMAY. And love to hear your thoughts. But I did have somebody share with me a rather alarming article that some gun owners look at and worry. What's the next step after registering a firearm with the government? And this comes out of Connecticut. And in particular, you've got a Connecticut lawmaker who is suggesting that they go after those who have registered their guns. So let me go ahead and go to this story over from Connecticut Insider. Lamont suggests making over grandfathered assault weapons illegal. Over 80,000 exist in Connecticut, they say. So new Governor Ned Lamont said this week that, and this is back in November, he wants to go after thousands of firearms legally kept in Connecticut under several grandfather provisions in the state's decades-old assault weapons ban, but clarified Thursday that he has not yet discussed specifics with lawmakers. So that seems to always be the concern, that registration leads to confiscation. And it would be easy to confiscate if law-abiding gun owners comply and register their guns with law enforcement. So what are your thoughts? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning, Greg. I haven't had time to really pay much attention to the bill. So is there any grandfathering in for already owned clips or
magazines? Yes. Now, it doesn't have a registration for those, but it does allow for you to currently possess the ones that you have, and you don't have to modify them. Good morning. You're on WMAY, blasting through these calls here. What's up?
I just would like to know, what's the purpose of registering your weapon?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Maybe I'll try to get that answered from some of these supporters of this. But yeah, why do we have to register? I know the governor said he wants a full accounting of the, quote, weapons of war that are in the hands of Illinoisans. Does that answer your question?
Not really. That's, it's not a good reason.
Appreciate the call. 217-629-7970 is the phone number. Good morning. You're on WMAY. You would have been. Gosh, what is going on with that phone line? That's not a good phone line. All right. Hey, we got to take a break for the top of the hour here, but much more coming up. More of your calls about should the House pass this or should they not. So stay tuned. We'll also talk a little bit about COVID-19, the Twitter files, and a few other things as well. A lot of action happening the last day of the legislature, so we'll be on top of all of it and bring it to you here on WMAY with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk coming up on 8 o'clock. And stay with us, all right? For those of you watching on YouTube Live, going to switch over to the new hour, so stay tuned. We'll get to more of your calls coming up here on WMAY. It is now 8 o'clock, and we're going to have a high of 50 degrees today with sunshine.